Hello, it is I, Merlinstergandaldore. Today, I want to try something new. I have been peering into the multiverse, as it seems to be the in thing to do these days. I've been watching games of Dungeons and Dragons play out in real time. But it seems I can only tune in when there's a published module at play. I theorize it's because the published module is in a collective consciousness. In any case, I shall be recapping the adventures I observe and reviewing the modules in question. Review-capping them, as it were. I like it. Trademark pending. So, without further ado, let's dive into our first review cap. A group of players just starting a brand new campaign using the old school essentials rule set. Playing the classic adventure module, Keep on the Borderlands. I really like this one. The Dungeon Master here has announced he'll be introducing house rules bit by bit, but has only started with one. Instead of the by-the-book magic system, magic users receive read magic plus one random spell. Elves get only the one random spell. Both classes may learn from scrolls and captured spellbooks, thus being able to go above the limit of spells in their books according to the OSE core rules. Both classes can have a maximum number of spells per level equal to half of their intelligence scores, rounded up. Alignment languages are in play, with the following flavor and adjustments. All PCs have them by default as a player perk, but otherwise in-game alignment languages are a rare thing, and not every sentient creature can do it. Moreover, there's a common belief in the world where people view the ability to speak in an alignment tongue as an abomination, an unnatural connection to other planes that is dangerous and must be destroyed. As such, people who can do it tend to keep it on the down low until they know someone else speaks their tongue and can be trusted. The players will be using paper minis from the Order of the Stick Monster for All Seasons mini line. This is not a sponsorship, though if Mr. Burlew wants to throw some sponsorship gold pieces this way, I won't say no. Each player made a stable of 3 characters, choosing from the 3 which one they preferred to begin with. The choices were Neil playing Nikolai Muerto, a lawful magic user. Nathaniel playing Lothar Undertree, neutral halfling. Stephen playing Gilbert, a neutral halfling. Dean playing Anno, a neutral elf. Marcel playing Legolas, chaotic elf. And George playing Ferris Oxarms, a neutral fighter. The campaign is set in Mystara, in the Grand Duchy of Karamakos, in the Altan-Tepe Mountains. The game begins with some good old-fashioned theatre of the mind as they are trudging up the long hill to the keep gates, part of a merchant caravan. The group arrives at the keep as the sun is setting. A very dour-looking corporal at the gate demands their names for the census, at which point George, playing Ferris, suggests that this is a good time to make character introductions to one another. Each player around the table takes turns introducing themselves, and the DM has fun with it as the frowning guard reacts to it all with a complaint about speeding it along as he wishes to close the gate for the evening. Once inside and their names recorded, the group heads to the tavern and Traveller's Inn, where they attempt to immediately mingle with the locals. Hanno the elf, being penniless, seeks out unattended food to steal. Nikolai, taking pity on his new friend, gives him gold to get a room and a meal, but Anno still attempts to find free food scraps, eventually giving up after being stared down by a dog guarding a bone. Ferris boisterously calls out to any smiths in the room, getting the interest of the keep smithy, Parker, who takes an immediate liking to him. A reaction roll of double 6 plus 1 for Ferris's charisma bonus cements an instant friendship. Ferris reveals his history as an apprentice smith, and fondness for the craft as the two share drinks. Legolas the elf skulks about, listening to conversations, successfully scoring a 1 on a DM-derived 1 in 6 chance to overhear a rumor from the chart on page 7 of the Keep on the Borderlands module. A 5 is rolled on the table, revealing that a wizard recently lost a magic wand of fireballs in the caves nearby. Ferris asks his new smith friend about mercenaries for hire, and thanks to a roll of 37% against the by-the-book module chance of 50% to find 1d4 plus 1 available mercenaries, he makes contact with an interested pair. Nikolai's constitution doesn't allow him to endure the thick air of the tavern without throwing up, so he retires to bed. This is a result of a player acting choice, as he is playing a magic user with a constitution of 6. Anno chats with some locals and learns that the area was once home to followers of ancient gods who have cursed their altars, making them dangerous. This is the result of a 1 in 6 chance to glean a local rumor, taken from a d20 roll yielding an 8 on the rumor chart in the module. Gilbert lingers around, listening and talking to people, but alas, his roll isn't so lucky and he learns nothing of interest. The blacksmith lets Ferris stay in his home due to their immediate bond. When Ferris asks to sleep on the floor, another double 6 reaction for a total of 13 due to Ferris's high charisma is rolled, and the smith insists they take the spare cot, and offers a tip for work. The local tradesman is seeking people for a task. The smith also gives Ferris a map of the local area to help him out, saying he no longer needs it. The next day, Ferris interviews the 2 mercs, scoring a low 5 on a 2d6 roll to hire retainers, 6 with his reaction adjustment, which luckily prompts a reroll opportunity. The 2 annoyed potential hirelings tap on their flagons, indicating that Ferris breached common etiquette by not buying them drinks. He corrects this, buys them drinks, and ups his original offer, eventually winning over one of the 2 with a total of 10 with his charisma and generous offer bonus for that retainer. Ferris equips that retainer, named Arak, with chainmail and a shield. For the other retainer, named Brett, the roll is a 3, 5 with charisma and bonus due to generous starting gear, so he turns down the offer but parts amicably. Nikolai, the magic user, seeks an audience with the Castellan, eager to prove his worth and help people in need. He hopes the Castellan will guide him. Reaction rolls a 6, so the lower neutral range. He's informed that the Castellan doesn't just see anyone, and is directed to Gren at the front gate if he wants information. Subsequently, a very low reaction roll of 3 prompts Gren to be less than eager to talk to this kid and tells him to bugger off. Nikolai presses him, prompting another reaction roll at -1. The result is also a 3. This prompts Gren to threaten to toss him in the jail if he doesn't go away. Nikolai relents and leaves. Ferris meets with the tradesman Reese and learns that Reese is seeking hunters to bring down a giant weasel he spotted skulking down by the woodline. The tradesman is acting somewhat nervous and excitable, which Ferris thinks is odd. But an offer of up to a possible 6,000 in royals, that's gold pieces and Karamakos, for a high-quality pelt in good condition, curbs any reservations. Ferris takes the job and goes to tell the others. I should note that this is a quest the DM has included as an option in addition to those laid out in the module. The DM has layered some 24 adventure possibilities in addition to what's printed to further give players the sandbox feel. Legolas attempts to gain entry to the Inner Bailey and the Castellan by claiming to know dire information about a powerful artifact. Reaction rolls are made, a 10 is scored, and the elf's persuasive words send one of the guards to report. The Castellan's steward is summoned, but upon learning that he's acting on tavern gossip about a lost wand and not tangible evidence, a reroll is prompted, and after a less than favourable reaction roll of 5, he ultimately dismisses the very annoyed elf. Nikolai, learning that there's a church of Foltus in the keep, decides to approach them in his quest for information. He is greeted by an acolyte named Kevin. After a conversation and decent reaction roll, the acolyte tells Nikolai of a reward for the capture or proof of death of the notorious magician Bargle, who is wanted for the murder of another acolyte of Foltus named Alina. The reward being offered is 10,000 royals with no excise fee. The group convenes at the tavern where Legolas pitches the idea of finding the Wand of Fireballs, while Ferris argues the weasel hunt will be more beneficial to the team. Legolas ultimately agrees that hunting the weasels is a quicker way to wealth. He convinces the others that the wood skills of the elves is so superior that they are worth half the take, while the other half can be divided amongst the rest of the non-elves in the party. There is some in-character grumbling, but Legolas's player is persuasive, and ultimately the deal is agreed to. The team trades off their bladed weapons and borrows maces from Ferris's smith friend to avoid damaging the furs too much. They head out into the woods, where the DM sets up their figures on the grid and asks for a marching order. A 3d6 check is called for against the intelligence attributes of the elves, but rolls go over and the elves are unable to track the creature. The halflings, however, prove valuable as woodsmen, and both easily succeed on their roles. This prompts Nikolai to question the elves' self-proclaimed value as well as their arrangement, but ultimately they keep to the agreement and move forward. The DM rolls d6 to see if the weasels will be encountered today, deciding that since the group is successfully tracking them specifically, it will be a 4 in 6. A 3 is rolled. A d4 is then rolled based on the Old School Essentials Giant Weasel Monster entry to see how many weasels will be encountered, and a 2 is scored. Finding a dead moose, torn apart apparently by 2 such creatures, the team debates whether to head back. They opt to push forth, eventually tracking and encountering the weasels. The DM rolls a random battlefield using a system cribbed from the 2nd edition Combat and Tactics book, and rolls a stack of small d6s to represent trees, then determines encounter distance of the weasels, and the reaction of the weasels to these intruders. The reaction is hostile, meaning they will attack. The DM staggers the weasels out, determining when the second weasel will appear separately. The first weasel rushes into attack, the dice determining the target. Lothar Undertree is the unlucky contestant. It bites into the halfling, who struggles to stab it. Lothar has 5 hit points. A 2d4 is rolled for damage. Lothar's player thinks he's done for. Everyone reacts with relief as 2 1s turn up, meaning Lothar survives. Everyone attacks, but the creature is ferocious, trying to drag Lothar away to take the morsel somewhere safe to eat. The team manages to come together and kill the giant weasel before Lothar takes any damage from the animal's blood drain effect. They pull it out into the clearing where Anno attempts to begin the skinning process, having borrowed Nikolai's dagger. Some laughs are had at the table when Anno's player suggests that he won't be giving it back. But the encounter is not over. Even with reduced chances because the group is alert, the second weasel gains surprise and emerges to quickly kill Anno, its target determined randomly by the DM. The surprise round ends and the fighters rush the animal while the halflings and remaining elf back away from melee to shoot. Initiative is tied, and the weasel manages to slay Arak the retainer with a high roll and 7 points of damage, while the rest kill it with simultaneous actions. With 2 dead weasels now, they quickly get to work skinning, while Ferris buries Arak and Anno, then retrieves the gear he purchased. Nikolai recovers his dagger from Anno as well as Anno's spellbook. Returning to the keep, the DM rolls to determine the value of the pelts, 1d6 times 1,000 per pelt, borrowing the printed values from the advanced Dungeons & Dragons rule set, scoring a 3 and 5. And Reese offers the team a total of 8,000 gold pieces for the pelts, which they gleefully accept. As Reese doesn't just have 8,000 royals sitting around, an arrangement is made with the keep's moneylender, the loan bank, and, unknown to the players, the castellan himself to have funds entered into a vault for the players to claim, and the deal is done. Legolas claims 50% of the take for himself, given that the arrangement was for him and Anno to share it, but Anno didn't survive. The remaining half is divided among the 4 other survivors. The DM divides the XP for the session evenly, however, as only the treasure is to be split according to the deal that was struck between players. The team kicks back to enjoy some downtime with their newfound wealth. Nikolai uses Read Magic to decipher the magic missile spell from Anno's book and begins the process of learning it. Legolas insists that since it's from an elven spellbook, Nikolai should teach him, to which Nikolai agrees. They also agree to use their money to buy the materials they need to research some spells while they can, which they agree to trade. The very first session of this campaign ends after close to 3 hours, and the next session is scheduled. This is, of course, a classic module, but for 4 of the 6 players was a brand new experience. And it's only just beginning. The player running Legolas was playing a tabletop RPG for the very first time. 2 players have run and or played this module before. Still, aside from brief roleplay moments in the keep, the weasel hunt they participated in is not an actual part of the module so brand new even to the experienced players. The stage is set for further adventures in both the setting and with the group. With a successful and profitable first adventure out of the way, they have the funds for magical research and to hire retainers for whatever task they opt to go for next. Rumors swirl around the keep, and story hooks abound. There isn't really much to say here, other than there's a reason this module is a classic. While this session didn't really showcase much of the module itself, the stage is set wonderfully. I don't want to spoil too much on the chance that the players of this game are watching, but I will say that modules like Keep on the Borderlands shine when DMs just let the scenario breathe. One minor downside is that while the Keep is well fleshed out with people and structure, there are minute details missing, like names for instance. Part of the DM's preparation here was to name each of the characters in advance so he wouldn't be scratching his head on the fly when it came up. But that minor nuisance aside, the Keep and surroundings offer a great sandbox-style adventure where the players have full agency to choose their destinies. Aside from the DM decision to set the game here at the Keep, the players are in the driver's seat. The game is now theirs. There's no story path to follow, no beats that must be met, just a scenario waiting to be interacted with. This is the module's greatest strength. The two players who are familiar with it had the expected nostalgic reaction when they realized that it was what was being run, and the newcomers dove right into the scenario. It shall be interesting to see what choices are made going forward and what develops from the setting. Even after 40 years, this module remains a great template for games. Look at it. It's so pretty. A structured base of operations, lots of adventure possibilities included in the module, with room to add even more, as demonstrated here. Marvelous. If you've never played the Keep on the Borderlands, well, what are you waiting for? Go do it! Right now!
Just do it! Just do it! Do it!
As a system, Old School Essentials plays very smoothly. The DM is a 36-year veteran of D&D, having started out with basic, BECME specifically, and quite used to advanced Dungeons & Dragons. This is the DM's first game running Old School Essentials specifically. Currently, only the aforementioned house rules were in play, though the DM has more that will be incorporated over time. In the meantime, however, the game is being played by the book otherwise. The OSE advanced options may also be on the horizon, but that's down the road once he's had time to review them. All in all, a very fun game where the players gelled immediately and got into their roles. Lots of hammy acting, silliness at the table, and lots of laughs. The age range of the players was from 16 years old at the youngest to 50 years old at the oldest. This campaign currently has 3 other players interested in joining, and not all players could commit to the proposed bi-weekly schedule, so it may evolve into a West Marches style game where players will swap in and out. Well, I hope you have enjoyed my first review cap. I shall post more as they happen. Anon, my friends.